The BC-3.5 will easily roast as small as 8 ounces. And this is a Mexico Chiapas from Bodai Leaf. Shout out to Bodai, has some great coffees. Check them out. You can buy in small amounts or buy the bag. And reason I'm starting off with the sample roast is, first of all, anytime you're doing a lot of roasting, it's best to do your small batches first. But also I want to show you that the roaster can easily control and handle roasting batches as small as 8 ounces. This one, my guess is you could go as even lower than that. I've preheated my roaster. I'm turning the gas off for a minute, turning my airflow down. Since this is my very first roast, I want to get a little bit more of an idea of what the real temperatures are in the drum. So I'm going to let it backtrack there without any airflow for just about a minute to get an idea to see if it's really 350 degrees in there. And of course, a double wall drum does take longer to preheat than a single wall drum. It also takes longer to cool down. So keep that in mind. The biggest advantage of a double wall drum on smaller roasters like 5 pounds and under is that you can do much smaller sample batches. A lot of the other issues really don't apply. It does take longer to cool down, longer to heat up. As far as evenness of roasts and things like that, you can get really even roasts at a single wall. So if you're not concerned with buying a roaster primarily for doing both small batch and the most production, you may want to consider a single wall. It's about a $500 less on a BC 3.5 and 5. So I'm pretty content that we're right in that 350 to 370 range. I'm going to reset my timer. I'm going to go ahead and charge the beans. As I said, 8 ounces from Bodai Leaf. I charge them into the drum. I don't have my gas turned on right at this moment. Some people let it go for 30 seconds or so. I don't see a real super big advantage to that. I'm going to go ahead and kick it on at 20 seconds. I'm definitely not going to keep it up to 3 kPa since this is a 8 ounce batch. If I was doing a maximum batch, I might do that, or I might even take it a little bit higher. I'm going to crank it down to about 1.3 just to see how the turnaround goes. And I don't have this hooked up to a computer right now, which if you were using Artisan, after a moment or so, it will start to predict where you're going to be at different times, which can be really helpful when you want to see how long it's going to take you to go through the drying phase. And people have all different rules and ideas on the drying phase. Some people go through it as quick as 3.5, 4 minutes. Some say religiously it's got to be 5 minutes or under. Others say, especially if it's a bigger roaster, you could go as high as 7 minutes and you're doing full batches. But that 5.5 minute target is fine. So here we are at 1 minute and 25 seconds. We're still going back. We're about ready to do the turnaround. Probably would have done it a little bit sooner. There it is at 290, 269 at 1 minute and 37. Well, no, it's still going back. Okay, 268 at 1 minute and 35 seconds approximately. Now it's starting this turnaround. So my concern is that I have enough airflow, which I'm going to start off with about 3 on the airflow, and I've got the 1.3 on the kPa. If you were doing natural gas, you may have this down to like a 1/4 of a kPa on your roaster. My drum speed is usually between 7 and 8, which is right where it is, about 75 right now, where you got about a 45 to 50 degree tumble in the drum. And you can check that on the front of the drum. So we're going to let this go for a minute. I'll be right back to give you some more details. So here you can see we're at almost 3 minutes. Yeah, right now at 3 minutes, 304 degrees. My rate of rise is a little faster than I want it to go. So I'm going to crank back my gas to 1 kPa. I'm going to bump up my airflow to 4. And there's a little bit of chaff in the drum. So if you notice, when I bumped up the airflow to 4, the airflow started going into reverse. I'm not worried about the airflow where the airflow is going. I'm mainly concerned where the bean temperature is. That bean temperature needs to continue to rise. Some people say the end of the drying phase is at 320, some go 335. Whatever you do it at, just be consistent. I'm going to crank this down a little bit more to 3/4 of a kPa because we're about ready to end the drying phase here at slightly under 4 minutes. So 3:30 drying phase end, 3 minutes 56 seconds. And at this point, we're going into the Maillard phase. We're going to take a look at the front of the roaster and see how those beans are developing. So here we are. Keep in mind that when you're doing roasts as small as 8 ounces, the reading on the ohm runs might be slightly off because your bean temperature probe is up here. If you want to change it, we have a pre-drilled hole where you can change it, put it right into the door if you're going to be doing lots and lots of sample batches. Otherwise, you may be content with leaving it here. So we're really probably looking at the bean temperature somewhere around 330 right now, which is right at 5 minutes. And to give you a better visual on that, you've got your trier spoon. So you can see the yellows are beginning to start turning toward brown. And we've got our airflow at 4, our gas at about 3/4, and our bean temperature, or our drum speed at 7.5. Don't know how well you can see, but I've turned the airflow up to about 6. On our magnehelic gauge, it's somewhere around 13. So we're getting a nice amount of airflow going through. Right now we're at 7 minutes, and the true temperature on the beans is probably about 345 degrees, even though because of my probe I never adjusted. You can see we're in those light brown phase, but the rate of rise is nice. We're continuing to climb. The evenness between the airflow and the bean temperature are pretty close. And being that it's the first roast, I'm probably going to take this up to about a 10-11 minute roast. We'll see. But I haven't adjusted the gas much. I've kept the drum speed the same, 7.5. Some people never adjust the drum speed, or they'll adjust it different depending on the type of beans they're roasting and the volume they put in the drum, and that's how they use their drum speed. Others will begin to turn it up a little bit as it starts to go toward first crack to help the momentum of the roast increase. And I'm beginning to hear first crack. Don't know about you. Yeah. At this point, some people will cut back their gas a little bit. I'm definitely going to increase my airflow to about 8.5. I actually am going to cut my gas back, but just a teeny bit, because I don't want to stall the roast. And we're going to look toward the front again and see how things are looking. I don't know how well you can see with the lighting and everything. But we're going into a nice first crack, very light roast. I'll take a bean out and scorch my hands and break it and see how the evenness is. You can't really see, but it's a very even roast, still very light. This is a Mexico Chiapas from Bodai Leaf, great company. Check them out on the web. And some people would drop their roast at this point right here. I'm going to take it just a little bit darker. Yeah, it's about where I want it to go now. So at this point, the momentum's going good. I'm just going to cut the gas, increase my airflow a little bit. And we're going to let this go. 10 minute, 21 second. 8 ounces of Mexico chapas. We're ready for the next roast.